Welcome back to the Better Men, Better Ball Player podcast. I'm your host, Trey Cobb. I want to thank you for joining us here on our 109th episode of the podcast where we get a chance to talk to Alex Guerra. Coach Guerra is the head coach at Radford University, getting ready to start his first season as the leader of the Highlanders. Coach Guerra was a former player at Radford, was also a former assistant coach at Radford during the 2014 and 2015 seasons. For the past 7 years, he's been at James Madison University as their recruiting coordinator, assistant coach there. After his playing time at Radford, Coach Guerrero spent time at Central Florida under Coach Rooney as their director of baseball operations and volunteer assistant coach. He was there from 2012 to 2013 before he then came back to Radford in his playing days. Just a really cool time to talk to Coach because he's getting ready to take over. He's getting ready to actually lead his first team meeting. So we get the chance to talk about his lessons, how things have grown, how he's been able to get his philosophy through all those years of experience that he has, just through his passion that he has for Radford. You'll hear the passion, you feel the passion, you'll feel his aggressiveness, you're going to feel the type of game that these guys are going to play, and how all that comes out through our conversation, and just his overall seriousness about Radford, his seriousness about the game, about coaching, and how much he does take it seriously. It's a awesome conversation. We've always been able to hit it off when we talk. I think we talk the same language, being pretty aggressive, passionate about it. It's always fun to talk to AG and Coach Guerrero. Just really enjoyed it. Really want to thank him for taking some time, and also just being able to thank our sponsors, Netting Pros. Netting professionals are improving programs one facility at a time. Netting professionals specialize in design, fabrication, installation of custom netting for backstops, batting cages, dugouts, scoreboards, BP screens, and ball carts. They also design and install digital graphic wall padding, windscreen, turf protectors, dugout benches, dugout cubbies, and more. Netting Professionals continues to provide quality products and services to many recreation, high school, and college fields, facilities, and stadiums throughout the country. Contact Netting Pros today at 844-620-2707 or info@nettingpros.com. Visit them online at www.nettingpros.com or check out Netting Pros on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn for all their latest products and projects. Shout out to Will Miner, shout out to the guys at Netting Pros. And again, thanks, Coach Guerra, for taking some time out of your day as you're getting things situated here for your first big meeting. Looking forward to it. And get ready, because here he is, head coach at Radford University, Coach Alex Guerra.
It's surreal, like it really is. When you start coaching, at least for me, I always wanted to be a head coach. The opportunity to, I think, impact a lot of people and be responsible for a coaching staff, players, the things that you do with alums, the community. It's such an important position. And, I got into coaching because you want to impact people. When I was a player, the opportunity to, coach some of the younger guys, help them, I really enjoyed that. And now, you fast forward to 10 years later, and now you're in that position that you dreamed about. I mean, there aren't that many head coaching jobs in Division I.
Mm-hmm.
You then fast forward and kind of look at it from the standpoint of how many jobs do you really have an opportunity at?
Mm-hmm.
And you look at Radford, and obviously this is it's a very unique opportunity for me, being a former player, being an assistant coach, and being in the region, being 2 hours up the road, and constantly just having a pulse on the program. Not only from an alumni player standpoint, but just as assistant coach, recruiting and what kind of players are they getting, and just following the program, and you see the players that go from different areas in the state and go and play there. But to answer your question, I pinch myself every day, man. I swear, and it's not like coach speak. I walk out, and I'm walking out to the field, and I'm just like, man, like I'm a head coach of this. Like, this is amazing. Like, it's sacred. I understand the position that I'm in. I understand the opportunity that I have to impact people. I take it very seriously, and we're all going to make mistakes, right? Things are going to happen. Nobody is perfect. Especially for me as a first-time 33-year-old head coach, like I sure as heck I'm not going to have all the answers, but every day I'm going to come to work and be passionate about trying to influence, our players and, our coaching staff and everybody that kind of touches our program.
Love it. How's the staff been? How's it been getting your staff and everything?
It's been great. Our guys are an amazing group of coaches. When this opportunity started to come to fruition, I started to think about, who are the guys I wanted around me, and right. Let me first off say, like, as an assistant coach, like when you want to be in a position of a head coach, you're constantly watching and learning and thinking about things and evaluating, what other people do. And I always felt like the most important thing as being a head coach is making sure that you have the right people around you on a daily basis. And it can be the thing that makes you sink or swim as a head coach, because as I've learned in the last month, like, you cannot do everything yourself. It's just it's literally impossible. You have to delegate. You have to trust people. The great thing about our coaching staff is two out of the four guys are guys that I've coached. Another guy I coached against and have had the chance to develop a very good relationship over him the last couple of years. And the other guy I've known for the last 10 years since I've been in the, in the state, 9-10 years, wherever it's been. I've always respected the job that he's done, and I've had the opportunity to cultivate a good relationship with him. So our recruiting coordinator, Billy Funk, he's going to coach our hitters, outfielders. The guy has defined our culture of being blue collar, and he has earned and worked for everything that he's gotten. And he's relentless when it comes to recruiting, his ability to connect with players. And I'm just so excited for him because, in my opinion, Billy should have been a Division I coach a very long time ago. But, for me, just because you don't have Division I experience, that doesn't mean anything to me. If you've got the skill set, you've got the passion, you've got the knowledge, and the ability to relate to today's player, it's all good. And the great thing about it is he was in our region, and I knew him. And I felt like, the more I thought about it from a recruiting side of things, it was really important for me to have guys that knew the area. From Pennsylvania, down to North Carolina, west to Tennessee, into West Virginia, and then obviously going up to different spots in New York and New Jersey. But the main region of the guys, the majority of where our guys are going to be at, it was important that we all had very strong ties to this area. And Billy has that. Grew up in Richmond, been in North Carolina for a very long time, between being at Wingate and Lewisburg, and has had a ton of successful players that have gone on to play at the next level. Spent some time up at Shippensburg, has worked for tremendous coaches, and has been a part of championship programs and has helped guys get on to the next level. So, and having somebody that's, around my age was good. It was just really important for me. So excited about Billy. Christian Bourne's our pitching coach. He came from Georgia Southern, where they hosted a regional for the first time in school history. He was their director of baseball ops and did a lot of stuff with the pitchers. And he played for us at JMU, and I had the opportunity to recruit him when I was at Radford as an assistant. So the relationship with Christian goes back,
way back,
10 years. And it's funny because here we are, 10 years later, and I couldn't get him to commit to Radford as a player, but we got him back as an assistant coach. And and with him, he's fits the narrative of the culture that I want of developing great relationships with players. He's extremely well versed on the pitching side of things and how it's constantly evolving, and he's constantly learned and gotten better. He's a tremendous communicator. He's really passionate about not only pitching but recruiting. And I kind of look at him now, not that I'm this 50-year-old head coach that's been doing it for years, but I look at him and I see him, if we don't get a recruit, I see how frustrated he gets, and I see how mad he gets. And Billy and I kind of look and we kind of smile, and it's like, not that we don't, but he's, the emotion that pours out, we're like, okay, that's how we were. We were 25 years old, and that's a great thing. And he sits there and he's constantly thinking about what do I need to do to get better? Where am I at, in my development? But on top of that, I love him. I'm very close with him. Obviously his whole family. I'm excited about. He's about to have a baby as well. Him and his wife Lindsay, who's his high school sweetheart. Grew up in Lynchburg. Went to Jefferson Forest, played for great coach and Coach Gilliland, and obviously went to JMU and was around all of us as a coaching staff. So I think he's a rising star, and I'm fortunate, very fortunate to have him. And our volunteer, Seth Lancaster, really, really excited about getting him. I didn't think I was going to have the opportunity to get him. He was the hitting coach and second assistant at Longwood. But there was just an opportunity for him. He's doing his grad school there, and the future with the school and grad school for him, like, it was kind of unknown. And he worked for a really just a great coach in Ox, and Ox and I are very close, and him and I spoke, and he was really trying to make sure Seth was going to be taken care of going forward, and had an opportunity here. And the great thing is that there's another relationship there. I had a chance to watch him as a player at Coastal. And then because of the ties between Ox and Kevin Schnall, myself, and going down there to Coastal and just kind of being around, those guys in the wintertime from a personal development standpoint, watching Seth and when he was hitting in the off season and just kind of talking shop with him. And then he came and worked our camps at JMU, and just really impressed by the way that, he communicated to players. When we would do the infield portion of things, I kind of looked at him and I said, "Hey man, you got the third baseman." And part of it was, to be honest, like a pseudo interview type thing. Like, man, let's see if this kid let's see if this 24-year-old kid can just go handle the infielders by himself and not have any direction. You look over and there he is, and he's doing different drills and throwing new things out. And he's coaching them, and you watch how he interacts with players. And even our current guys are at JMU. They were getting a really good vibe from him, and then you start talking hitting with him, and he's another elite communicator. He's got a presence about him that I think certain coaches have, and he's got that. He's a winner. He's tough. He's extremely knowledgeable, and so I think he's another guy that's he's on the uptick in this profession, and I'm really, really excited and really, really lucky to have him. And Corey Singh is a unique story. Corey was with us at JMU for a year. He was part of our first recruiting class. Actually, I think he was the first or second recruit that committed, to us when we were there. And things just didn't work out. I mean, there was Corey. He was an unbelievable kid. It just didn't work out from a baseball standpoint for him. Went to Patrick Henry, and had a great. I think he was there for 1 year, just 1 year there, and then he went to Norfolk State. And I joke because I feel like he's been there for like 7 years between like the junior college getting their years back, COVID, whatever it was. So when I got the job, I stay in touch with them from time to time. Which I mean, what kind of kid like keeps texting with his coach like from his previous school? Like it's
right.
It was really a nice thing that he did. And when I got the job, he reached out and he just wanted to talk. He's like, I want to get into coaching, and of any opportunities. And he was doing his grad school thing. And I was sitting there, I'm like, I just come here. Like, I don't know if you can. Would you do it? And the thing that I loved the most about him, and the thing that I was so impressed, was he didn't blink. Like, he didn't hesitate. He didn't ask his mom or dad. Like, he didn't, let me think about it. Let me talk to my girlfriend. It's like, yeah, I'm in. I'm like, you want to think about it? He's, no, I'm in. Like, just tell me what I need to do. I was like, well, I got to figure out, make sure this is okay, because you're doing grad school somewhere else online. Can you do it? Can you work here? And, he was just all in with it. And he's done a great job since he's been here. The coaching's tough. Like the profession is tough as far as just getting started, getting into it. And since he's been here, he's done nothing but embrace everything that we've had. And he's got an infectious personality. Our guys are going to love him, and he's going to be around a great group of guys that are going to help, make him better. So I'm extremely excited about our staff. I'm thankful for them and believing in me and our program. And they want to be at Radford. And just like with recruiting, I want guys that want to be at Radford. I'd rather have guys with less experience. I'd rather have a player that's maybe not as developed from a skill standpoint, but there's a lot in there, but is really passionate about the school he's going at, versus trying to convince a little bit of a better player to come to Radford. And that's really with any school. But because I played here and was an assistant here, I got a lot of ties to this place. It's important to me. Like, you got to share the same passion I have for it. So these guys do, and I'm excited that they're here.
So I was just thinking, like, you going through it for the first time. You've seen guys that go through it. You've been with Jamie. You've been with, staff that have hired on. What's it like in your position now? Like, what was the biggest difference? Maybe something that you didn't know through this process of getting a staff. Maybe that you wish you knew going into it, or that maybe something that you couldn't know until you go through it.
You mean as far as just hiring, like the hiring process?
Yep,
or
the
like
hiring process is as the hiring process, and just the hiring process, and you finding the staff that you wanted. What was it? Something that you?
I think you have guys in mind, but I think just you've got to define as a head coach, as a leader, like, what do you want in those positions, and how are you going to coach, and like, what do you want to do? For me, in my personality, I believe that having guys that are a little bit younger around me that I've known, like, and this is just right now for me, right? I'm a younger head coach. Like, I want someone that's going to believe in the message that I have, and is going to enforce and influence the same type of message and believe in it. And I felt like once I identified, what I wanted out of a staff from a personality standpoint, then you got to break down, okay, who fits this mold? Who fits a young, energetic, hungry, passionate coach that wants to stay in the coaching. That was important. Like I wasn't hiring guys like, I'm going to try it out, or I'm going to, let's see how this is. Like, no, you've got to be all in. And after you identify that from a personality standpoint, you then push forward and try and find the people that you know. And for me, it was just very important that trust is huge for me. And I wanted to make sure that I knew what I was getting into from a personality standpoint. You're around these guys so much. And you've got to enjoy being around these people.
Right.
You got it. And, so I knew that going into it. I think and you've got to stick to your guns. Like you can't falter. You can't cave in because someone that told you about another guy, even though it doesn't fit. You don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Like you're going to make decisions. You have to make decisions that are not going to make everybody happy. You've got to be okay with that. You have to be okay with the fact that every time you talk to somebody or when there's a major decision that's being made, one person's going to be really excited and the other person's going to be really pissed. How you explain it and how you talk about it is everything, right? But I think once you get here and you get the staff, like, man, it's real. Like you're sitting there in a staff meeting and everybody's looking at you. Like, and if you're disorganized, like, or you're not clear with your message, they're going to be looking at you going, what are we doing? What are we meeting about? So that was really important that early on, especially like I portrayed, the ability to make sure that I'm keeping everybody kind of on task with what we need to do. This is the first time we're all working together. Right. So, there are certain things and certain ways and certain processes that for me, I would like our program to run, whether it's administratively, recruiting wise, offensively, defensively, pitching, just how we are filtering the information to the players, and just how we're staying organized. Yeah, there's a certain process and way that I want things to be done. And, it's just with also having guys that have not coached as long, I think it's good for their development. Not that my way is every way, but the best thing that ever happened to me was working for Terry Rooney starting out. I didn't know what I was doing. I was 22 years old working at a top 10 program. Like I got really lucky. I literally struck gold. And I remember like there was a period of time there where I was there for like a month. And an independent ball team called and was like, hey, we need an infielder. Like, you ready to come play? And I called Joe and my parents, and my dad was like, I don't really like this. I just don't think this is a good idea. He's like, but talk to Joe, see what he thinks. And I called Joe, and he just basically said the same thing. It was like, what are you talking about? He said, dude, you realize you just got drafted like in like the top, like in the first round. It's like you're working for a program that's like might go to Omaha this year. Your career is going to completely change if that happens. We're going to end up going to the regional championship, but he was right. Like, I mean, I could have went and played in event ball and got cut after a week, but working for Terry Rooney was awesome from the standpoint of the organization, the things that you learned, how to run a program, how to go about your business on a daily basis, and really, really set the tone for, the urgency and the way things needed to get done. And that was great. That was a great lesson for me.
I bet it was. What are some things like what are your big takeaways from Coach Rooney in that first couple of years? Like what, like looking at it now, like are you still taking this piece of it?
Yeah. One of the funny things was I first started out and we'd have these staff meetings and I'd go in there with a notebook, pen, and I'd write things down. And then like the next week, there'd be more stuff that would come across, and he'd tell us some different stuff to do. And then got to the point where I was like, he'd write the date on the top, and then he'd go through each person. I'm like, I bet he's like, and I would go in his office and like I see all these notebooks stacked up. I was like, Coach, what do you got there? He's like, oh, it's just all our staff meeting notebooks. He's like, this is what I know during each time of the year. Like, what does each person need to, like, what do we need to work on? He goes, I can't remember everything. He's like, I got to write things down. And I looked at it and I was like, you know what, that's a good idea, because eventually as an assistant, like you want to be able to not only take things off the head coach's plate, but be proactive and be ahead of what could potentially come across your desk. Like recruiting wise, I know at this time I've got to make sure I get the high school transcripts and their test scores and make sure their eligibility center. Like I didn't need Ike or Joe to tell me to make sure everything was ready for their NLI by November 1st. I didn't need to tell, or those guys didn't need to tell me when it was time for individuals to start. Hey, make sure you have the individual schedule by this day. Like it was already, hey, here's the individual schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, here's this. Hey, here's the recruiting calendar. Hey, here's that. Like, but you started creating your own timeline in your head because of the way you were, brought up in coaching, I guess. Like, he was very, very organized as a leader, and he kept everybody like on task. The thing about Coach was, don't get me wrong, like I mean, I've told this to him before, but like it wasn't easy working for him. Like he challenged you, but it's exactly what we needed. And I think anybody who's ever worked for him will look back on it now and be like, man, thank God I worked, but because of where I'm at now, thank goodness I was in that position.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was hard, and yeah, he challenged you, but man, I'll tell you what, he also gave you direction, and he demanded you to be really good at it. And if you weren't doing the job he wanted, man, he told you, he pushed you, and I look back on that and it's like, man, it's kind of been a huge staple into my coaching career.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many great stories there with with him. It was just like, I remember like his attention to detail was amazing. I remember one time we were coming back from a trip from UAB, and there was this rope that we had that we used to position the outfitters, and like I don't know, I didn't want to do it. To be honest, like it was hard for me to move it. He brought me in, and like, we got back. We swept them. We got back at like 2:15. And he's like, AG, come here. Closed our meeting at like 2:15 in the morning, and like kind of read me the riot act. Like, no, like this is how we're going to do it in this program. And I made sure I used the towel moving forward. And I respected the fact that this is the way we're doing things, and this is how we're going to do it. And if not, you're not going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
He said that to me, but I mean that's the way that, as a head coach, I think he just did such a good job of establishing what the expectation level was. This is the direction that you need to do, and he expects you to do it. And if you did it, then he pushed you more to never get complacent. And like, if you wanted something done by October 1st, well, then you have it done by September 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Have it done earlier. And like, because he wasn't going to wait till October 1st to be like, okay, do you have it? Like, he's going to start getting antsy like September 20th, September 15th. Like, hey, where are you at with it? Like, why am I waiting? Like, why do I keep asking you? Like, I gave you a date. Like, it's not done on the 25th. It's funny because I've become the same way now. Like, but that was good. It was a good experience for me.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just thinking about the experiences you've had. So you said like that kind of detailed and that kind of expectation has molded you now, what you're going to expect. What about from like say Joe and Ike? Like what is something maybe there you'll maybe take maybe parts of that you think that it's kind of how you are now because of your experience?
Working, and then obviously coming back to Radford with Joe. Obviously, he gave me my first opportunity to coach, and he helped me. He got me the job at UCF. Him and Coach Rooney were best friends. They both went to Radford, and then brought me back as an assistant coach. And I remember driving up. Rich Whitten and I worked together. Who's now the head coach at FIU. We were both together at UCF, and he'd gotten the job at Winthrop. And I was driving up. He was in Myrtle Beach for a weekend. And I was driving up to Radford, and I stayed with him that night. And I remember Joe called me. He's like, "Hey, you're the recruiting coordinator. BA's going to Penn State." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm not worried about it. We're fine." And he hung up. And went back to Rich, and he's like, "Joe just told me I'm the recruiting coordinator." But now because of the way I was prepared from Coach Rooney, I felt really good about the plan I had. Working with Kevin Schnall and Ryan Klosterman, and as those guys that were top assistants. And let me just run this back real quick. You look at that staff, and there's a picture of my office here on the wall, which I think is great. It's like I'm the head coach at Radford. Ryan Klosterman is the head coach at Bryant up in the Northeast. Rich Whitten's the head coach at FIU, and Kevin Schnall is about to be the head coach at Coastal eventually. So you got there's something right that Coach Rooney was doing.
Oh yeah,
you got Cliff Godwin's obviously at ECU. Jeff Palumbo's worked for him. Brandon Romans. There's been so many assistants that he's helped develop. So obviously, he's doing something correct.
Mm-hmm.
And then going with Joe, he's a tremendous teacher of the game. From an infield standpoint, he's made a lot of very average infielders much better, maybe slightly below average infielders to average infielders. And I say that because I'm talking about myself. He wear me out all the time about my feet and my flexibility and this, but tremendous motivator, competitive, passionate, and just from a baseball standpoint, I don't know if there's running an offense, making the right calls at the right time. He was really good on the field, really good in the game, from constantly challenging to question things, whether it be offensively, defensively, recruiting wise, constantly finding ways to get better. And he was very good with that stuff. So I was very fortunate to have Joe come back or bring me back. And, the program that he built, the way he built it, the vision that he had for it. And, you look around, there's a lot of wonderful things that we have at this place.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe was obviously at the forefront of that. So going to Ike, you're around a guy for 7 years, Jimmy, Daniel Bowman, who's, they're family to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
All the people I work for, it's all family to me. It's a close-knit group, and you're around guys every day though for 7 years. Man, it's a lot about each other.
Mm-hmm.
You share so many different experiences on and off the field, and it was tough leaving them. And it was a time in my career where I was wanting a little bit more I wanted to take another step forward, right? And it was an opportunity to kind of branch out from the coaching tree of baseball that's all I knew, right? So it was in a great way, but now it's almost like a kid going to college. It's time to go out on your own now from a coaching standpoint. played for Joe, went to work for Coach Rooney, came back to work for Joe. Like a lot of similar baseball things going on, working for Ike, hearing different stuff, seeing how he handled different situations. But on top of the fact, they're just the responsibility that I got. And from an offensive standpoint, calling the offense, coaching third, full freedom and full reign of the hitters, and it was great. And just being around different people and being in a different area of the state, just something different, and working for Joe from a hitting standpoint was it was a great opportunity because the first time I was able to run the hitters. And doing that, he would be, hey man, you need to think about doing this. Hey, what do you see here? What do you see there? Like mentoring me and preparing me for the opportunity I had with to where it was like, okay, now you're going to go and, you're not going to have a head coach that's going to be on you or talk to you about stuff every single day or every single time something happens. Or you're going to be out there on an island and coaching third, putting plays on, calling different things. You need to be prepared for this. So I think that time with Joe was invaluable, but then it prepared me for being around, and working for Ike and, just a very compassionate person, just a great leader. And being around Jimmy and being around Debo, like those guys as assistants, I mean, if COVID didn't happen, I think Daniel Bowman's probably still in coaching. But I think working with those guys, it was awesome. It was a wonderful experience. And it was tough leaving. But I'm thankful for my time with them for sure.
Sure, and I know that they're excited about you, man. I talked to Jimmy about it, and super excited, man. They couldn't be more excited for you too. And I think it's just part of the game. And you just like anything, like you said, going to college and people wanting to go get a better situation. I remember my brother moved down to Florida and he was able to grow more, man. And it was I'm selfishly, of course, I wanted to keep him here, but I knew that was the best thing for him, and. So I know those guys they're super excited for you. I'm sure they're a little worried about competing against you too, especially come recruiting and things like that. But it's all love, man. It's all
absolutely.
I know you guys had it was awesome just to watch you guys and got you guys work and things like that. But I think just even that experience alone with you guys, it's going to help you with your staff and how your guys' relationships are. And like you said, that's kind of already started. And I guess, like I said, you kind of already said that's kind of naturally what you took away from that because the way you built your staff and it's so revolved around those, like you said, those relationships and basically these are going to be your new family members.
Absolutely.
So cool.
There's no doubt.
So cool, man. So when you're thinking about, getting down to a couple things and going with how you're going to do these things at Radford, just thinking about, cause you said, I remember you mentioned the word culture and what your culture is going to be like. And like you said, we're going to be blue collar. Are these kind of things that how much is it here's what we're going to be. And then, or as the players come in, doing it with the players, or much it is here's who we are. Have you guys already defined that? I remember, I think what you said, the staff, you were kind of talking about defining. Are you talking about defining things?
It's going to be defined for them, to be honest. I think in situations like this, where there's a lot of past history with this place for me personally, and having an opportunity now to rewrite it and doing it the way that my teammates previous alums built it. This is how we're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to have total ownership in that. There's no question. But I believe that at the end of the day, like, sometimes you can't have too many chefs in the kitchen. Like, I want to do it this way. No. Like, this is how we're going to do it. Like, this is what our culture is going to be. And this is how we are going to go forward. And you're either going to be about it or you're not going to be around in this program. And that's just the reality. That's not being mean or anything like that. There's a direction that the head coach has to set for everybody in the program. As an assistant coach, for the players. And to be quite honest, like, Trey, like, when I was in those positions, like, I wanted direction. I wanted freedom and autonomy within my job. But, like, I wanted the leader to go, you're this is your job. This is what you need to do. Go do it. Not like, well, I mean, what do you think? Like, you want to do it in certain times. Like, I mean, there are certain times where you just tell me what we need to do here. And this is where we're going. When it comes to the culture, like, that comes from the head coach. You have to set it, and then, is it going to evolve and alter and, have different phrases and all these things? But, I mean, sorry. There's going to be sorry, one sec, my bad. There we go. Damn, people call me here.
I'm sure.
All right, there you go. This is the culture of what our program is going to be. We're going to be a blue-collar family. That's what we've been when this program was, at its peak. And that's what we're going to be going forward, 100%. And our guys are going to embrace that mentality. And every day there's going to be some type of lesson, talk, discussion, example, whatever it may be, that you're going to bring back to define our culture. And as head coach, like, that's your sole responsibility. Not sole, but that's the culture and the lifeline of the culture that you want to have is solely responsible on the head coach. Because at the end of the day, if whatever you're enforcing, whatever you want your team to be, that's what they're going to be in every aspect of it. And our culture, I just know how important it is for the success of a team going forward. And I've got to make sure that I manage it and make sure it's always going forward and in the right direction. And you got to do that with the right people, of course. And it absolutely has started with our assistants, but moving forward, I think it has to do with a lot of these guys on this team already. We've got a really good group of seniors. The communication that they've shown over the last 4 to 6 weeks since I've been here has been awesome. Just getting to know them, coming around the office, the majority of our team is already here in the cages. They're doing stuff on their own. The energy is through the roof. The excitement is through the roof. Guys come by the office and just hanging out, and because that's important. You've got to be able to have the relationship with these kids that they can come in your office and sit down and talk to you about anything, and you get to know who they are to their core. If they get to know you, one of the things that is a part of our culture is being vulnerable, and being vulnerable with each other, and understanding where everybody's come from, and giving guys the platform to share things that they may not share with other people. But as a coach, you've got to be the one that starts that and allow guys to be comfortable sharing things that they may or may not have been in the past, or be able to share in the past. And then that all of a sudden cultivates a a culture of family, of exactly how I want it to be. Because at the end of the day, when you win a championship, like, you don't look around and go, man, we really won because we just practiced. We just did such a good job every day working on our drags and our pushes and our short game. And, every Thursday when we hit off the break ball machine, man, like, man, that's why we won. Like, no one talks about that.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about how much they love each other and how they overcame adversity together and the culture and, how much love they have for their teammates and coaches. And it was like that way in 2015. It was like that way in 2014. It was like that way when these last 7 years at JMU. It's that UCF team that first year, man, those guys were relentless in how much they pushed each other and loved each other. And you look at the end of the year and you see the emotion on guys' faces. Like, last game at JMU last year, even though we couldn't go to the conference tournament because of us going to the Sun Belt, we were probably on the field for another hour and a half, 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
The emotion that those guys had, it was real, and that's ultimately, as a coach, what you're trying to create. You're trying to create that type of environment within your program. And you got to work at it every single day. You've got to, and you've got to involve the players in it. But at the end of the day, they're going to be enforcing the message that you want to cultivate.
Are there specific ways, or let's say like the ways that you like to do them, or like you found that might be the best ways to kind of bring that connection, bring the vulnerability? Like, what are the best ways, I guess you could say, that you found out to do that?
I think that there's going to be things, whether it be something on a practice plan, whether it be an example that happens in practice, whether it be a video that you see that you can show the guys, that you can relate back to your culture. What does this mean for us in a program? Whether it be having, there's so many different exercises and things team-wise that in group settings that we're going to do. And just being real with yourself and switching it up, make it, there's all kinds of different things that you can do to keep it fresh for these kids. But I think consistency is probably the biggest thing, regardless of what you do, whether it's a video, an email, a text, something on the practice plan, something within practice, a team meeting in the dugout, things that you want to explain, as long as like whatever you're doing is consistent. And that's something I'm going to make sure that I try to work really hard at, and constantly make sure that there's something, on a daily basis, that's defining and cultivating and pushing our culture forward.
Something daily. Love it. That's really awesome. Looking forward. So Bianco comes to mind there, like, especially because they put stuff on Twitter, like Twitter, and you see his little messages that he says those little stories, But yeah, that's just a consistent thing that works with our program. And I'm thinking in mind, like, man, I don't know when I'm going to do that. Like, how could I have time? But it works. Especially like I said, if that comes from the consistency. That's definitely not a splash in the pan once a week thing.
No, there's no doubt. Now, make no mistake about it. Like, you've got to have good players, and you've got to be able to develop them. Like, let's not take the baseball part out of it away. But when you have those three aspects, you've got a really good culture, you've got really good players, and you're developing them, and they're believing in the system that you're putting into play, and the style that you want to play. Then you're going to create a championship contender year in, year out. And that's what this program is going to do, and that's what we're going to be. And we're not going to back down from anybody. We're We'll never be on our heels. We're going to play with an edge. We're going to play with toughness. We're going to compete. Like everyone talks about competing. Like, yeah, I mean, you're a Division I athlete. Of course, you're a competitor. But how we compete and how we play, it's going to be with a lot of passion, and it's going to be with edge. And I want our guys to be themselves, and I want our guys to focus on making sure that winning is, when they're between those white lines, man, the only thing that matters is winning and doing whatever it takes. And it's all about the team. No matter what happens, no matter what you're doing, no matter how you're feeling, no matter who we're playing, we're going into every single game expecting to win. And that's another piece of the culture that it's a mindset. It really is. Like your brain and your mind are a powerful, powerful thing. You think you suck at something, man, you're probably going to suck at it.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably are. If you're a little bit, from a skill standpoint, maybe not as good as the guy you're going against, but you solely believe that this is how we're going to win and this is what I need to do to win, and I'm better than them. You've seen a lot of underdogs, and a lot of people that you may not expect to win in certain situations, and they do it. I mean, look at the Patriots, right? They were down 28-3 against the Falcons with like 6 minutes left in the third quarter. And you look, that behind the scenes of that Super Bowl that the NFL Network did. I mean, my goodness. And I'm a Jet fan. I love Tom Brady. He is
champion. He's a competitor.
He's the greatest. I mean, I think he's the greatest champion ever. Between him and Jordan, obviously, it's hard to buy. But the things that Tom Brady has done and the way he has impacted his teammates over such a consistent duration of time is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And you listen and you hear the things that guy's saying in the huddle and on the sidelines, and the belief. Like, there was never a time where he ever thought he was going to lose. It's amazing. But it's because of the mindset and how he prepared and the culture that I think he helped create. Obviously Belichick is awesome, but you know what? Like, no, the guy did go down to Tampa and win one. So, I mean,
that's right.
I don't know. I'm taking Brady all day.
Oh, that's all day.
You know what I mean? And again, I just think that's a part of the mindset that I think comes from the head coach.
Mm-hmm.
And how we're going to play. I'm not going to be in the bullpen like hovering over Christian when a guy's throwing his slider on TrackMan and they're working on it. What does that do? Just pisses off the kid, pisses off Christian.
Mm-hmm.
It just that I don't need to. I'll be in there. I'll be watching, evaluating. Like, hey, can this kid help us in the 8th inning? What role does this guy serve? Yeah, offensively, I'll be more involved just because that's what my background. But I also trust the guys that I hired, and I'm looking at it from a bird's eye view. Like, where does this guy fit in with our team? What role does he have? Explaining those roles and responsibilities consistently to our guys, making sure they know exactly what their role is all the time. And yeah, it could change. It could alter depending on, different circumstances that happen. But the style, the way we go about our business, the process, the culture, like that comes from me. That's one voice. And that's not being egotistic or anything. That's just the vision that I have as a head coach, because ultimately at the end of the day, the wins and losses are going to be they'll be responsible on me.
Mm-hmm.
And I accept that and I understand that. But this is how we're going to do it as far as building everything. And I've always I always wasn't a very, very aggressive player, coach, very passionate, um, emotional, and hopefully more positive ways than not. But you know what? I want our guys to be passionate. I just want them to be themselves. And I don't want them to try to be anybody else but that. And when you allow guys to totally and utterly be themselves to their core, you get a really unique group of guys that really love each other. Like, you can't have 35 of the same exact guy. Like, I believe that you can have 35 guys that have their own personalities and own spin on things that are all doing and joining towards the same and pushing forward towards the same type of goal and message. That's a team. That's what being in college is all about. And our guys are going to have the freedom to be themselves and play with an edge and play with passion. And these guys are going to be excited about where this program's going.
Sure. I'm sure they are. I'm just thinking about dude, when you've been, has the type of player that you're looking for, has that changed? Or is that most of the same? Because you're looking I think, is it more clear about the kind of yep, that's or you've always gone to the same kind of kid? Has anything changed this summer? You know what I mean? You're that. I don't know. I'm just thinking about it.
Not really. I mean, it's different.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's different challenges that bring at different schools, and I think that there's a certain type of kid at Radford that fits, right? And it's, but as far as us trying to recruit the best players that we see that fit us, we're not going to back down from that at all.
Yeah.
But there are certain kids that, from take the baseball out of it, that are just from a school standpoint, an area, size of school, it's different than the places I've been at. Radford's a little bit smaller than JMU. Some people love that. Some people prefer to be at a bigger school. It's in a different area. Again, some people love it, some people don't. The different majors and the different things to do socially, it's not necessarily a different type of player as far as how you want to recruit. I've always believed in the same thing, regardless of where I've been at, recruiting really athletic, skilled, middle of the field players that can do multiple things. I've never been a person that really likes to recruit a one-dimensional player.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that's offensively or defensively, if you're recruiting a one-dimensional player especially from an offensive standpoint, you better believe he's going to hit. And sometimes that's the case, and sometimes we've had those guys, no question. But I just know with the style that we want to play, we just want to be able to have guys that can do as close to every part of the game baseball-wise, because you have to be able to beat teams different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Got to be able to win the game 2-1. You've got to be able to win the game 10-9. So how are you going to coach it, and how are you going to have the personnel to do that? And I believe that there's 35 players, obviously in the country, but 35 players in the region in which we recruit at that can be able to do that and help us win a championship. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, to really answer your question, I don't think that doesn't change.
Yeah, I was just wondering because the edge, the words and things that you're using.
That part of it, yeah, a little bit.
You know what I mean? I just think are you saying this kid's gonna fit? Maybe and it didn't really fit over here. You know what I mean?
Actually, well, okay, how you say it like that? Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yes, because there's been the guys that we've gotten. I can't comment on it, obviously, because it's a violation. But some of the guys we've gotten, like by the time they graduate, there'll be people who'll be like, yeah, that's your type of guy.
Yeah.
Because they play with.
And I think we all do that. I think we all do that. Like in any instance, like we find things that are more geared towards our personality and
yes, I mean,
you know what I mean? I think that those things just happen, and you were that guy. You were that Swiss Army knife, that guy that could play up the middle and you could do multiple things, like
if you talk to Joe though, he would not agree with you.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you saying that because I'm gonna give him a jab when I talk to him about it.
Okay. All right. That's good.
No, you're right though, man. I mean, I think you want to have guys that fit your personality, and yes, from that standpoint, personality wise, if you don't match up with us, our staff, the guys on our team, yeah, like I don't really care how good you are because ultimately I know it's not going to work out anyways. So
right. That's
wasted time. Like so,
right. You want to find people that are like, it's going to be a good experience for everyone. They're going to enjoy it, and they can grow in it. They can grow in this environment.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
So when do you guys start? You said you guys are already on campus. You already got some guys on campus. When do you guys officially get going?
We're going to officially start with our first team meeting on Sunday, and then we're going to do like some testing stuff first couple of days, and then we're going to let guys kind of get settled in their classes, and we're going to start up on Thursday with individuals. We'll continue with individuals through the next week, and then we will start team practice on September 5th, and then we'll go till late October and finish up with 5 weeks or so of indies and Thanksgiving break. Come back to the Highlander Challenge, Christmas break, and then here next thing you know, snap your fingers. It'll be
you're rolling.
Will be game 1. So
game 1. What's so you talk about a little bit of testing. So is that mostly from the standpoint of is it baseball wise or is it baseball like when I'm thinking blast, right? I'm thinking blast or Rapsodo or is it also like the weight room testing?
It's just going to be weight room testing for the first. Okay. We have guys that do biomechanical movement testing. They do a screening with our trainer. They'll do a conditioning test as well, just to kind of see where they're at. That the strength coach puts on, really nothing crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll also do like this combine that she had created. Our strength coach is awesome. Our support staff is phenomenal as well. Like our trainer, Schiff was here when I was an assistant. He's been here the whole time.
Nice.
Our academic advisor, Allison McCoy, thank God she's here. She's been a saint trying to getting all these guys that we were trying to get over the summer in the school, helping with the communication, the administrative stuff during the transition. And she's been great. Schiff and Coach Norton as well. I mean, she's so knowledgeable with what she does and really creative with some different things, and very fortunate for the support staff that we have here.
How like let's say with the strength coach, is it like here's what he's gonna do, or is it still working? You guys both working together, or still like you maybe say, here's what I'd like to get this piece of information from them, or like how to like when you're working together with your strength coach, or is it just for him just doing his thing?
Yeah. So she's got a program that we've kind of, from a philosophy standpoint, we agree upon.
Okay.
And Jen's worked really closely with Christian as far as making sure the pitchers are lifting when they need to lift, with their throwing stuff. I trust her in looking at the stuff that she's got from a strength standpoint. It matches up with the things that I believe in. And there were certain things that for me that were kind of non-negotiables, but nothing like out of control crazy. Like, she's a strength coach. That's her area of expertise.
Right.
And I put together some of the things that I've seen over the years that I would prefer our guys to do and how I want them to go about their business, and other things that I just don't want to be done. Or if this happens, this is what they're not doing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just seen it too much with certain areas of their body and certain exercises.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I mean, she's a golfer at FAU. She's a stage 4 cancer survivor. So you're talking about toughness.
That's right. She's a tough ass, that's for sure.
Man, she's got great personality. Guys love her. And she was a rotational athlete. So she gets it. She loves baseball. She loves her guys. I mean, she's got a lot of feel with what she does, on top of running all the other teams at Radford. So she's
no, that's great. I just thought, I was just wondering, like, just in your, certain situation, it's just something that I've, just thinking about you having to get on the same page with everybody and how that, all kind of work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that was a big thing. It's different. You talk to a guy who's been there for 8 years, this and that, and the strength, I get all that, but it was just something I was just wondering, you're trying to touch base with everybody, all right, how I like to do this or how you do this. And I guess just come to a common ground.
To be honest with you, it's really easy. It's just you go in there as a human, and you sit down, and you have I know it sounds I'm not making this sound weird, come off in a certain egotistical way or anything, but you sit down, you talk like two adults for however long it takes, and you agree, you disagree, you okay, that's what we're gonna do going forward. And that was the one. I mean, with Schiff, it was so easy, and with Allison and Jen, it was extremely easy because it was just, that's what we did. We sat down and we talked, and these were the things that this is what I was thinking. Hey, what do you want? Just back and forth and putting together a schedule, a plan. And again, me just kind of giving some certain philosophies, but at the same time, I'm not going to micromanage people.
Yeah.
We're all working together. We're all on the same page. We are all on the same team, and we can't be successful without them. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to let people do their jobs and give them autonomy within their area of responsibility. And then, for me as a head coach, if there's something that's not in line with what's going on or how we need to do things, we need to have a conversation, like adults. But it was really easy getting on the same page with them. I mean, look at our GPA, our academic advisor. I mean, we have 3.4 GPA. So it's okay, what did you do last year with this guy?
Right.
What? 28 guys over a 3.0? It was out of control. And
that's great.
She looks at me and goes, yeah, we don't do study hall. Really? She goes, yeah, study hall it's a social session. Amen.
Okay.
Now, when we tell recruits there's no study hall, the moms will be like, what?
Mm-hmm. And
they're like, then when Allison explains it to them, they're like, well, that makes a lot of sense. She's like, and she would say, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, we're going to be in study hall just to make you feel good. No, they're not going to be in study hall. If they're in study hall, it just becomes a screw around session. They don't use it to their benefit. They can come here anytime they want. They have a task-based system, and every week she knows what they're doing every single week. Every guy. Wow. They have to fill out a Google Doc, so she knows everything that they're doing, following. And so if they get off task, boom, then she expects you to be in there, and she makes you come here certain times. And she's great. I think her system is wonderful. So
awesome.
I got no issues with it.
That's awesome. Yeah, just stuff like that too that people didn't realize. It's just all the different people that you need to touch base with and have kind of fingers everywhere and make sure everybody's kind of doing. It's such a global.
No, you're right. It really is. It's between that and just your, the people in the business office, people in the administration, that the things that now you have to decide, and the areas that now you're responsible for. Can you approve paying for this out of this part of your budget. Wait a second. Like, is that make sure I'm good? Like, I think we're good. Yeah, fine, whatever. Making decisions on, the things that we need for our program from a financial standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
The alumni piece, making sure you have a pulse on that. With the marketing or the SID, like you're controlling the message. You're managing so many different areas, and your ability to communicate and be organized and make every person feel extremely important to the success of your program it's vital. Like it's very vital. You've got to be a really good communicator, and you have to be true and honest with yourself. And you've got to be it's the same thing with our guys. Be yourself. And it's the same thing with me. I want to be myself. And there's going to be times that I don't make the right decision, or I make a mistake, or I'm pissed off. But I'm not going to fake it. Like just because I became a head coach doesn't mean like, oh, I'm all of a sudden going to like be this person where I'm going to like button up my top button and put a tie on while I'm sitting here and like talk to you like I'm no, man. Like I just got a little bit of a bigger office and a better view. Got two nice window views instead of sitting in that concrete wall I had for 7 years.
Right.
And I say that like obviously just like tongue in cheek, but I'm gonna be myself and treat people the right way, treat people with respect, hold them accountable, obviously, but I believe administratively and coworkers, like it's just so easy to get along with people if you just talk to them like they're not beneath you, and if there's an issue, like let's talk about it, because it's life, right? Like just be kind to each other and let's get on the same page. So
that's it, man. Well, buddy, we've been over here an hour just thinking about any kind of last kind of words, man. You want to any kind of advice or any kind of thing that you think we haven't left off about the Highlanders or, your new opportunity?
Man, we covered so much.
We did.
I appreciate you being here. That was awesome, man. I loved it. I appreciate what you do for baseball, for coaching in general. I think this is awesome. Having the opportunity to put information out there for coaches and parents and players to listen to help them grow. I think this is what you're doing is awesome, and it's the reason why baseball is great. It's the reason why travel baseball is great, and the relationships that you cultivate with coaches, and the way that you're helping grow the game is it's wonderful. And I know I speak for a lot of people. We appreciate everything that you do, and not only that, but the guys that you coach in the summer, and they're lucky to have you for sure. But for me, at Radford, I could be more excited about this opportunity, and I'm thankful for you being able to allow me to share my passion and my vision, and where we expect this program to be. And it's my full expectation that this program's competing for a championship year in and year out as soon as possible. And we're gonna work to attack that goal and get it every single day. I love this place too much for it to fail. Like, it won't fail. We will win. When, I don't know, but we will win a lot earlier than what I think people will expect. And that may be brash, but I really don't care, because if you go into any game or any season like expecting to be mediocre, well, then you're a loser. And this team and this program it will never be filled with a loser mindset. And in 72 hours, when we meet as a team, it's going to be a meeting that's going to shape Radford baseball for the next 25 years. And they're going to get on the same page really quick about how we're going to go about our business. And that championship, blue collar family culture the tone is going to get set real quick. That I could promise you. So I appreciate you, man. And you're welcome anytime.
Coach Alex Guerra from Radford, just killing it, just with some awesome stuff there. I just love to listen to it again. and just really just hearing and just getting through like really the last bit. And I honestly have told people after this, like after talking to AG, and I wish I was a fly on the wall for that meeting. That meeting where he goes and sets the culture and sets, like you said, sets Radford baseball up for the future and puts the ship in the direction. Would have loved been a fly on the wall for that. Love the emotion, love the pride, love the passion, and that's going to rub off on his players. It's going to rub off on the guys he's looking for. And it's just a real pleasure to be able to listen to him, and especially in the unique role. I don't think in the last 2 years, all different guys we've talked to haven't had a guy like that early with getting a new job. With everything going on, I can't believe that we actually fit a conversation in, and he just gave me so much time, and we talked so much, and it was awesome. And it was just such a unique person. I think for anybody who may be trying to get into the profession, job, go assistant coach to head coach, and understanding all the different roles, I think this was a great conversation for that. To kind of think of all the different hats you have to wear, all the different people you got to talk to, and relationships you got to build, and have a pulse on all those different things. And AG kind of touched base on all that. I really appreciate it. Just a wealth of different things, and all the lessons that he got to learn from just phenomenal coaches like Coach Rooney, Coach Ike, Coach Rack from Radford. I mean, so just a really great conversation. Loved how he's going in there, like I said, setting the course for Radford baseball. They're going to be a blue collar family, where every day there's going to be some type of their big example, bringing in, defining their culture. But it's a culture that is coming from him, it's coming from them, and it's continuing to say the right message, and being consistent is the best thing that any coach can do. It was, like he said, and I feel it's just so true. More and more as we've gotten older, and you keep it, and you continue to see the guys who continue to show up. The consistency is what allows them to continue to be successful. They continue to be consistent communication, consistent presence, consistent routines. And the more the habits are good, they're building great habits, and they're just living the good lifestyle, which can continue to make them consistent, and will be successful. And I know AG will do that at Radford. So if you're not following him on Twitter, please follow him on Twitter at AGBaseball19. Shoot me an email, AJ Guerra, at radford.edu. To follow those guys, be ready for Radford to make some noise here in the next coming days. All that passion, energy, excellence, or consistency to show up, and it's going to pay off throughout the time. So AG, best of luck to you guys. Thank you guys for sticking with us here. Thank you to our sponsors, Netting Pros. Please check out those guys. They happen to, just really fortunate. I got an L screen, I got a ball cart. Stuff is first class, very well done. Check out Netting Pros stuff, guys. It's really good. So, and until next time, keep getting better.